Okay, let me ask you a question. I'm gonna show you a really cool before and after. And if you knew that this was gonna take a month, a whole month to achieve, would it still feel worth it to you? I think most of us would say yes, right? But what if I told you that I did this whole transformation in just 5 to 10 minute chunks of time? 5 to 10 minutes. I know you've probably heard me say before that 5 minutes matters, but a few weeks ago I was determined to prove this, so I only allowed myself to work in 5 to 10 minute chunks, and this was the progress we were able to make in a month. But do you know what else? It wasn't even every day of the month. I think if I added it up, it was about 8 or 9 days. 8 or 9 days of 5 to 10 minutes at a time. It can make a huge difference. All right, now this video is a little bit longer because it is meant for you to work alongside me, for you to body double, for us to work together. And again, I'm gonna be working in the basement, showing you how we did this awesome transformation, but you can be working anywhere doing anything, whether you're cleaning, decluttering, tidying, or painting. Any of it works. We can still work alongside each other. So I hope there's something that you can be working on too. So this is the area that I want to tackle next. Actually, when this is done, then like our basement will actually be fairly done and just kind of in maintenance mode, which feels really good. And isn't it amazing how gross a space could be? And you don't really think about it till you go to take a before video and you're like, oh, wow, this space has gotten like really kind of scuzzy looking. So we're gonna do the floor paint in here. Actually, I meant to grab that. Let me grab the floor paint for those who always ask about the floor paint that we use. Okay, so this is the floor paint. It was just the cheapest option at Walmart for a cement paint. I mean, they show it in a garage, like it's meant for like heavy use. And even as our basement has gotten wet, it has still worked really well. The shade is slate gray. It has made such a difference with how it feels down here. And so that's why it's not necessary, right? Like it's nothing except aesthetic, but I love how it feels down here because our basement has always felt kind of grody. The other thing, like when we first moved in, the walls were all freshly painted white, but now because we do get like some water seepage through the block and stuff, they've gotten kind of grody again too. So I want to paint that. I want to declutter it. There's a pile here of random stuff to go through. And then just some other stuff that has kind of crept in. And then even like the kids' sandbox table, which they love, and that has worked out really well. They have extra stuff around it too that they wouldn't need anymore. So we're gonna declutter that as well. And so again, because I was successful in that other area of the basement, just tackling it in 5 minute chunks, like I literally never worked on it for more than 5 minutes. It was like when I was working with you on it. I do feel good because normally I would set aside, like this would be a whole weekend project, right? Like if I'm gonna get out paint, we're gonna paint the walls, we're gonna paint the floor. And now I realize that the painting actually went really fast when we did it. And so if I can in a few 5 minute sessions get everything ready here and then paint it, that doesn't have to be a weekend thing. Like that can be anytime I just have a few minutes of extra time. So anyways, that is my case again today for 5 minutes matters. You could start today and you're gonna feel so much better about yourself. So would you do it for 5 minutes today? Okay, so the most intimidating part of this space is this random catch-all pile right here. So I was like, do I start with this or do I leave this to the end? Let's just start with this today because then the rest of the space is actually gonna feel pretty easy. Okay, this is, and do you know how this even happened? It happened because that box got set there with nothing, like it had a couple things in it. I didn't fully finish it the last time we worked down here. And then it becomes okay to like put more stuff around it and on it. So you've probably noticed that in your house. Anyway, this is a wreath that my mom made me. What I actually want to do is add some white flowers to it and fill it out a little bit more. I'm always aware with stuff like this, like, will I do it like this week? If it's not gonna actually get done soon and I can put it out for spring, then like, I don't want to hang on to projects like that anymore. And so I'm thinking like Wednesdays are my errand day when I take the kids to co-op. So I could pop into, I don't know, there's a nice Dollar Tree up there. I'm looking for inexpensive, right? Where else did I see nice flowers recently that weren't that expensive? Maybe the Target dollar spot too, they had some nice ones. So I could check in, get this done this week, and then I feel okay about that. So that is my plan. If it would get stretched out, I might just decide to donate it and not continue to try and fix it. So that's my plan for that. This is just a used furnace filter. I have no idea what this is. I don't think we need it. It's like a wire. I'm just gonna bend it up and put it, I have my black trash bag here, so I'm gonna put this stuff in there. All right. Oh my gosh, why is that so hard to put in there? Okay. Let's see. This is a basket that has been floating around and I had decided I'm gonna donate it. So I'm gonna put this with my donation box right over here. And then, oh man. These were some lights we used to use before I got different lights and we needed like extra lighting for video. And so I'm gonna donate these. We don't need them anymore. They've been down here unused for well over a year. So I'm gonna donate these as well. I'm trying to see if there's any other donations around here. And then these are some wall fasteners, like an anchor kit. That box right there is all of my wall fasteners. And so these can go in there. This hook we've literally had since our townhouse. Like, I don't need this anymore. I'm gonna donate that. And then, I don't know, there's garbage. So let me put this. And then this is normally on these shelves over here that I had organized a little while back. So that can go over there. And again, with stuff like this, as soon as I pick it up, I'm thinking in my head, did I even remember that it was there? Like, if I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, if my initial reaction is like, ugh, why do I still have that? And I can't think of exactly where I'm gonna use it like this week, I'm just gonna let it go because I'm gonna forget about it again, right? And so I'm just gonna let it go. We can't mentally inventory every single item in our house. We forget about it and then it's as good as gone. And then we really need the things like Julie's visit last week. She's like, I buy more chapstick and I buy more nail clippers and I buy more all these things because I don't know where they are, right? So we have to reduce our inventory and then we won't buy so many things. And so even if this hook that was like $3, if I could use it in the future, if I have a really low inventory, overall my household budget is doing so much better that I can afford a $3 mistake because big picture, like I am more than making up that $3. Does that make sense? So it's really easy for me to let this kind of stuff go now. Okay, so no idea. These are extra, these were in that wall mount kit, but they're from the wire shelves we put up in our laundry room. We don't need this. We'll never use that. And then, I don't know, black thing. So this stuff I'm gonna throw away. And then, empty box, I'm gonna throw that away. All right. There's also, I'm catching like over here, this is a used filter from our humidifier. I'm sure just because there was no garbage can down here, it didn't get thrown away. So throw that guy away. This is our cement paint. We're gonna use to paint in here. And then this is actually kind of heavy. There's more garbage. That is an electrical panel thing. I'm gonna move that into our cellar room here because that's where I put things that are just like actually storage. Tom knows that's down here. I forget. I don't remember what the point of it is. It's something that he has to do something with. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna put it in there for kind of like long-term storage and it just doesn't have to be sitting out here anymore. So that's what I'm gonna do with that. And then actually we've got this area looking pretty good. So tomorrow, that makes me get kind of out of breath a little bit. So tomorrow when I come back down to work, I'm gonna start working like in this area over here, and then that will feel really good as well. Okay, so here's how this all came about. Now, in previous videos, I have shown the 2 other main areas of our basement that I have also decluttered mainly in 5 to 10 and 15-minute chunks of time. This is a process I've been using for a long time, and I've gotten to test out with others and they say that it works so well too. So the last third of our basement that still needed to be done was this corner here where it was kind of like our home gym slash where the kids had their sandbox table. And to tell you the truth, I didn't even realize that it had started to look so bad until I started to take videos of it. And this area hasn't really been a top priority, so it kept getting pushed to the bottom of the list. Today I want to kind of tackle this stuff right here. And here's what I'll tell you. Anytime I see like a random pile like this, oops, the flower fell out. My thought is like, that has been abandoned, no one is using it, unless there is like something so completely necessary in there. My goal is to get rid of all of it. I don't want to clean, organize, take care of any of this stuff, because to me, just the fact that it was like piled in the corner of our gross basement means no one has any value for this stuff anymore, right? And so I see something like this and I'm like, gone. Is there a Nerf bullet in here that is still good? Yes. Is it worth my time to like walk it up 2 flights of stairs to go put it with the other Nerf bullets? Not for me, I don't think so, but we each get to decide that line for ourselves. If I'm really honest, I was surprised on the YouTube video I did recently where I cleaned out the boys' bedroom, or we cleaned it out. A gal had commented and said, it's so hard to see you throw away Legos. In my head, I'm thinking like, we have a gazillion Legos. Like, we actually have probably way less Legos than most people have. I think as I was thinking about it more, I'm like, why does that just seem so odd to me? And I'm like, oh, well, I've developed the value and I've learned that our kids actually play better with less, not more, right? Like, more Legos doesn't make them play better, doesn't make them happier, doesn't make them more successful. I don't know. Actually, fewer toys and less inventory does. So to throw away some random Legos or the, you know, bins that have just randomness in them, to me, like, I'm just like, that stuff has been time tested. No one is digging through there looking for anything. And so it's very easy to let it go. But that's just, you know, I've built that up over time and I just look at stuff like that so differently now. Okay, there's some other random stuff down there too that is just like, you know, Easter egg. This is like a little sign. Well, that they could have in their sandbox, but otherwise it is just mostly like, I don't even know what that is. Ugh. Yep, gross. Okay. The only thing I do want to figure out, we do have just a few, like very few weights like this that we do sometimes use. And so I would like to find some kind of little shelf here. But again, it gets wet over here. Like we have a sump pump there. And so I have to figure out something that it is okay if it gets wet. But all of this I'm just throwing away. We don't need that stuff anymore. And then I want to sweep this area up too. So, all right, let's move this back out. So I'm gonna pull some of this other stuff out because I would like to sweep it today as well. So this is like an air purifier. So when our basement has gotten like really wet, we'll run this down there to make sure like nothing grows. It's luckily because my brother used to do like water damage stuff, restoration. He has all of this equipment, but we keep it down here because like you never know when you're gonna need it, but it's heavy, so. All right, so this is starting to feel a lot better. I just broom swept it now. We'll go over it with the shop vac before we paint to make sure everything is all picked up. But that's where we'll stop for today. That actually feels way better, right? And it was a very short amount of time. All right, I've got my super duper helper with me today. So Corbin, I was wondering if you could just help me quick go through the toys that are under the table here. And if we could just simplify them, because you seem to have a good number up here already, right? So can we just go through them real quick? You like this sandbox, don't you? Yeah. You helped build it too, didn't you? Awesome. Okay, so, oh man, this is kind of heavy. All right, here's what we've got. And then we also, I have a garbage bag here.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff that's just garbage.
Knitting needles? How did those end up in here?
Maggie didn't want them anymore, so she gave me and Gage each a pair of knitting needles. So this is broken, so this can go.
Okay.
This is broken, so this can go.
Okay.
And this is also broken, and this is also broken.
Wow, well that was easy. Got the garbage right there. Okay. Here, let's bring it over here. Okay. And then this guy will still keep.
Yeah.
How about the measuring cups? They're just some dollar store measuring cups. You want those still?
The rest can go back in the same box.
Okay. Those still fit with these?
Yeah.
Stuff? Okay. And then how about I see here. Can you grab these other things real quick? So everything is fine? Okay. A boat? Does a boat float in your sand?
No, just. And this.
Yeah, we can let that go. Do you want this still?
Nah.
Okay. All right. Well, that was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Huh? All right. You want to go?
Yeah.
Okay. He had said they just started watching. Apparently, Whistling Diesel has a new YouTube video, and they had just started watching it. So that you might have been like, "Wow, he did that so quickly." There was motivation behind it as well. So that's actually we're actually getting in really good shape here. I am gonna have Corbin. We're gonna paint the walls and paint the floor. So that'll probably be our next step here. So actually, this space has been going quite a bit easier than I even anticipated. But I want to get started on this corner here in the basement that I'm working on. I want to see if I can get this corner looking a little bit better with some white paint. So let's start, and then I'm gonna vacuum it first and stuff, and then we can visit while I work. Hopefully we're working together and you're working alongside me. I am working in this corner, I guess, of our basement for our March Deep Dive project. This corner specifically is kind of the grossest part that's left of our basement. It gets kind of not really wet, it gets damp. And so this has been, I can't believe in a couple weeks we'll have lived here 7 years. So when we moved in, everything was freshly painted. So this has not been touched in 7 years. And so that's why the walls just need to be touched up. I'm just gonna paint the tube on the sump pump, and then what's really gonna make it feel good is to come in and paint the floor with the concrete paint. And I know, honestly, I mean, we still hope at some point in the next 2 to 3 years to lift up this house and put a new basement underneath it. So this is all gonna get jackhammered up and destroyed at some point, but yet I've still found that it just feels really good to have our house in order, to have it feel clean, to be able to come, my treadmill's down here in the corner, to come down here in the morning and just not have it feel gross. And so it still feels very worthwhile to me. And I've also really noticed that doing these kind of menial tasks, it's just really good mental processing time, right? There is something about we get rerunning things in our head, and we need to get up and do something physically active, whether it's tidying or decluttering or painting your basement, right? And ideally in the summer, I would be out in the garden or even going for a walk outside, but we can't do that right now. And so there is something about painting a wall white that just is really good, brain processing at time. And I'm not even listening to anything in my AirPods. It's just I had them on in case someone called, so I wouldn't have to stop what I was doing. I could just answer the call and keep going. It's just, I don't know, it's just really good. Okay, I have paint. I just got this from Walmart, ready to use satin white. We had it from when we did the stairs here earlier. I don't have a big roller. I don't have a paintbrush because it's all over at the farmhouse. I don't even have a paint tray. I just have this size roller, and I'm gonna use this to dip the paint in because I just wanna get this done and I don't wanna keep dragging it out. So it's not ideal, but we're gonna make it work. I think it's gonna be fine. So we have our private mentorship group, and this was actually a March deep dive project. So we each picked an area of our home that we wanted to go deeper or we wanted to complete. So it could have been a decluttering goal, photos, emails, anything that had been hanging over the members' heads. We each picked an area that we were gonna focus on. So this was my deep dive area. Now, here's what's so cool. Over the last several years, as I've gotten to work with this group and we hold each other accountable, we motivate one each other, we share what works, what doesn't work, we brainstorm ideas whenever anyone gets hung up. Here's what I have found by working with hundreds of other women now, is that body doubling is huge. Now we'll talk about what actually body doubling is a little bit later in the video. We've talked about it in previous videos, but if you're not familiar, we'll talk about that. It's basically just working alongside someone else. Body doubling is huge. The other thing that we hear over and over again is that 5 minutes matters. 5 minutes makes a huge difference. And so that is a tactic that we have all come to rely on in that group. And again, when we're just thinking about it, we're like 5 minutes. You can't do anything in 5 minutes, right? Like that cannot make a big difference. And that's why during the month of March then, I was like, I am determined. I knew I had many believers in the group, but I also knew there was a group of skeptics. And I'm like, I am gonna prove to you that 5 minutes matters, right? And it does. I don't even know how to fully explain it, except that it takes a project that seems scary and like we're not capable, like we don't have this skill set to do it, we don't have the energy to do it, we don't have the time or the bandwidth to do it. It breaks down all of those barriers because honestly, most of us have 5 minutes today, right? And so it causes us to get into a project, get moving on it, right? That's what we all say, getting started is the hardest part. And it causes us to get going and to start creating some momentum. Isn't it amazing how like some fresh white paint can just make it feel so much better? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It feels nice. I just want to keep looking at it. So anyways, hello, it's really good to see you today. Well, like many of you, I am just fitting this project into pockets of time, right? So I don't have a ton of time, but I know that even doing a little bit makes me feel so much better about this project. So yesterday we worked on painting the walls white. It looks so nice. And today I am gonna start painting the floor. So I'm gonna have to like move the sand table and the treadmill and all that, but I decided I'm gonna work just on like edging, getting it vacuumed really well. I was just working on that. So it is vacuumed now, so I'm gonna jump in with painting. But even if I can get like around the sump basket done and the edging along here, then when I have help to move this stuff out, then rolling it actually goes really fast. So I'm gonna try and get some of that like more tedious, annoying stuff done right now and just see how far we get. At least once it's started, it's easier to like keep going with it. What's kind of wild is that we haven't even used 2 full gallons on our whole basement floor. So I think we'll be able to finish it with still this one. It's about half left. And so that actually hasn't been so bad. It was like $33 a gallon, but for the difference that it makes, like our basement goes from feeling so kind of just icky to feeling like clean, which I never thought it could. I guess, I don't know, I never thought paint was that powerful. But my brother used to do like mold remediation and, excuse me, and he said he would always get really nervous when he went into homes for sale and everything was just in the basement was just painted fresh white. He was like, it always felt to me like they were trying to hide something. And I'm like, well, yeah, I get that. But I really am trying to hide something, right? Like I'm trying to make it, our old dingy basement not look so old and grody, right? And so it works. So okay, well that is looking really awesome. See, now the thing is I don't want to stop, right? I want to go grab Corbin and keep going. But I think I need to call it for now, but it feels really good. It's gonna look so nice over here when it's done. All right, I got my super duper helper down here today. He's already got to work. I'm like, slow down, we're gonna video. Right, Corbin?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in turbo speed already. So Corbin, how did you move that sandbox on your own? I tried to move it and it is very heavy.
It's kind of easy.
It's kind of easy?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I think, Corbin, because we also have the treadmill here,
Yeah.
I think we're just gonna move the sandbox over here,
Okay.
or maybe like where I'm standing,
Yeah.
and try and do as much of that, and then we'll just have to move the treadmill over, I think, eventually. And I also want to let you know that our Take Your House Back course is open now because our next All Day Declutter is coming up on Saturday, May 6th. Now, this is where Dana, Cass, and myself, where we all cover a full day, 8 hours of live guided decluttering. So if you are the type that needs an appointment on the calendar, you need other people. I mean, talk about body doubling on steroids, right? You need other people around. You need to feel their energy. You need to be reminded of the tips and why you're doing this. The All Day Declutter is magical. Plus, you also get access to the full Take Your House Back course, which has over 20 videos, hours and hours of live Q&As between Dana and Cass and myself. But I just saw this comment about it and I thought it was really good, if I do say so myself. So Sarah said, I started with the launch of Take Your House Back and it was life-changing. I already made progress with the 3 ladies from their YouTube channels, but the combining of ideas is enlightening. And that's what we've heard from many others. There's something about the 3 of us together that is kind of magical. We're just able to take all of our best of the best tips and advice and we just put our heads together and it is just truly all of our best information, tactics, ideas, regarding all of the different areas of your home. We even talk about contentment and being happy with where we're at with our current house. I mean, my basement's kind of gross, right? Like sometimes it's like, what would it be like to have a brand new basement that doesn't get wet sometimes, right? But over the process, as I do this, I actually really like my house again. And as I declutter it, even when it gets wet from time to time, it actually isn't a big deal anymore because there's not stuff sitting on the floor getting wet anymore, right? So here's how you know if the Take Your House Back course might be right for you. If you think back 1 year, so 1 year ago in April or whenever you're watching this, if you think back 1 year ago, have you made the progress in this past year that you had hoped to? And if the answer is no, then it just might mean that you need some extra help. You might do better with working alongside others, having people guide you through different areas of your home. So if you have not made the progress that you had hoped in the past year, I would highly encourage you. It's just $94 right now, normally $597, and we do have a payment plan available as well. All right, so I hope that I will get to see you for the All Day Declutter, but let's keep working on this space. And I've been talking about this kind of a lot, but I think I'm feeling really extra passionate about you getting your house decluttered because I care about you. And I feel like, I don't know, this spring especially, I have just really been experiencing the benefits of getting my house decluttered 8 years ago. So it has been awesome over the last 7 years prior to that. But just recently, we've had family come from out of town that wanted to stay with us. Like I said, our basement, for whatever reason, we've had a very wet spring. We had a lot of snow and we got a lot of rain and it's been very wet. We have not dealt with this much water in our basement since like, I think the year we moved in. And I was like having flashbacks to that first year we moved in, and there was stuff everywhere, and thinking about the hours that I spent down here dealing with wet stuff. It is like, it's just gross, right? And it's such a mix of emotions because you feel bad for the money you've wasted, the special things that got ruined, the things you thought you were gonna use that got ruined. You're seeing all these things that you've spent money on that you've never used, and now they're ruined and no one could make use of them. You think about how you should have donated a long time ago, then someone could have made use of it, and then you get like really bitter and resentful over all the time you're wasting and the energy that you're wasting cleaning up this mess that if everything would have just been up off the floor, it wouldn't have been a big deal. Like now I can come down here and squeegee and mop the water to the drain in like a matter of minutes. And I don't know, in some weird way, it's almost kind of enjoyable. Like it's kind of like gratifying getting it all to the drain and having everything in order and it's all dry again and everything, right? I don't know. These are the strange things that happen once you get your house decluttered. And even just the season our kids are in, they're ages 8 through 13 now, and they're doing a few more activities. And so we're just driving more. And again, it's not a big cost to do that. It's enjoyable, and I'm really glad for the opportunities that they're getting. And so I just really feel like I'm enjoying the benefits of the work that I did over the past 8 years. I also think, like, if I can get on a soapbox for just a minute, I won't stay there long, I promise, but I've been fascinated by studying both the impacts of like our clutter on just our mind and how we feel. And so we've talked about how it causes us to feel more anxious and stressed out and unsafe in our own home, right? So we're learning, right? Like clutter is bad, like it has bad impacts on us. But as I've studied happiness and joy and different things as well, like I just can't get away from the fact that I feel like the only way to feel truly happy and satisfied in life is if we are somehow helping or impacting others. It takes many different shapes and forms. And what I love is that I feel like we are each called to a different people group or category of people, or, like I look at people that love like children's ministry and working in the nursery and little kids and all that. And I'm like, that horrifies me. Like I just, like the thought, if I had to volunteer like in the nursery, I would just be like, I would probably like call in sick or something, right? Because I'm like, that just does not sound enjoyable to me. Like that would not be life-giving to me. But then I think about like working with teenagers and helping them like figure out like who they are and what they want to do and how to help them know that their life matters, right? And I'm like, that just energizes me beyond belief, right? And other people will be like, oh, teenagers, that's so hard, right? And then I have a friend and she is like all about helping seniors and just helping them age in a dignified way, right? And I love her heart around that. And so it's so cool to see how like we're each drawn to a different group of people, but yet I feel like what I've experienced in my own life and watching others and the research, but when we are so overwhelmed with our own clutter and our own life and our own schedules and everything, like how can we possibly even entertain that idea, right? And so I feel like as I have gotten my house simplified, now I'm like, okay, I can think about this and I can think about what I want my kids to be experiencing and who they could be helping. We all want to feel significant. We all want to feel like we're making a difference and like our life matters. Otherwise, what is the point, right? And so as I continue to simplify, then like it just makes it so much easier, but that also gives me another filter because I know like I'm down in the basement and basements and storage spaces are filled with just in case items, right? And so as I declutter and work through stuff down here, and certainly I'll link to the other videos where I've done that, it makes it easier to let that stuff go, even stuff that I've spent money on, and be like, you know what, the stuff, it's not the main thing. It's like just not, right? And so it makes it a little bit easier to let that stuff go too. All right, Corbin, what do you think?
It is good.
It looks really good,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Do you know what I like about working with you, Corbin?
What?
Is we sometimes get to parts and we're like, we don't know how to move the treadmill, or we don't know how to do this, and we just figure it out, don't we?
Yeah.
You're good at figuring stuff out, aren't you? And you're my muscle too when I need it, aren't you? Awesome. So we agreed we're gonna let this dry for like 24 hours probably before we put everything back.
Okay.
Doesn't it look like a new basement?
Yeah.
It looks really nice, doesn't it? Awesome. We have a little shelf that I got that I wanted to put together for this area. We just have a few like weights and kettlebell things. And so we got a shelf, so we're gonna start putting that together while we visit. So it was kind of funny to me when we were at the conference this past weekend, and I would end each of the breakout sessions with just, letting people ask questions, so Q&A. Every single one of the 4 sessions, sentimental items came up and getting your spouse on board. And so all that to say, like, they're very universal issues. Oh, and then paper clutter, that was the third most frequent one. And it was so funny, right? Because these were mostly women that didn't know who I was. Like, we hadn't talked about decluttering before. And it's like, those are like the universal pain points. And I just want to encourage you today that I really think the best tactic still is 5 minutes. So for spouses, it's a little different, right? It's modeling it and giving them some time to come around to it. But when it comes to sentimental stuff, paper clutter, catch-all rooms, we joked about, guest bedrooms that become catch-all rooms. It really is just these 5-minute chunks of time, making a little bit of progress every day. Like even this morning, I was thinking like, oh, should I actually go down there? Should I put the shelf together? Should we do that little piece of this project? And I could have made a lot of excuses why there's lots of other more productive things, more important things that I could have done this morning. But keeping this moving, I actually now feel re-energized around getting this done. And so I don't have to continue to do it anymore. So on a Tuesday morning, I don't have to take a little bit of time to work on this type of project. It'll be done. Then we go into maintenance mode, but maintenance mode is way easier than the heavy lifting that you're doing right now with the actual decluttering. And so if you are feeling at all discouraged today or discouraged with your March deep dive project, I just want to encourage you that 5 minutes really does matter. I know I say it all the time, but what is like one little piece of it that you could work on for 5 minutes today? And I really do think that it'll make a huge difference. So I had gotten this shelf because we wanted something to put, we just have like 2 hand weights. And then we have a few little like plastic kettlebell things, and they'd always just kind of like floated around the floor in here. So I thought it'd be really nice just to have one central spot that we can put them on. And so it went together a little bit harder. Like the bolts were really hard. It only took 7 minutes to get it like assembled-ish, but then to actually tighten the bolts took some muscle. So I'm glad I have my muscles here with me today, but I do think it turned out well, and I think it's going to be really nice to have. So I would love to know what you're up to today. Again, sometimes we don't always get to our deep dive project every day, but like taking a few minutes to tidy up, keep our areas tidied up, helps us to feel like we're making forward progress and not going backwards. Hello, it's really good to see you today. So back in the basement, really hoping to get this finished up like today and tomorrow. So there's a section of the floor here. This is the last section in the basement that needs to get done. So I want to paint that quick, and then we can start moving stuff back. But we did also so the sand table was over there. But we had these 2 pieces of like exercise equipment. It's like rowing machine and then this whatever. And so Tom and I were talking because I'm like, it'd be kind of nice to have all of the exercise equipment together. We had originally put the sand table over there because those were the only 2 windows in the basement, and we thought it'd be kind of nice for the kids to have it over there. But it's also the furthest point in the basement when they come down the steps. So we're thinking of keeping the sand table over here, and then sand doesn't get tracked across the whole basement, and then keeping that clean. I also didn't like, I felt like sand was sometimes getting onto the treadmill, which was a little less ideal. It wasn't so much, like our kids are kind of old enough to keep it in, but if like little cousins came over to play, sometimes sand just went flying everywhere. So anyways, let's get painting and then we can visit a little bit more. And another thing too, when it comes to kids, is just to continue to talk out our process around them. I know often we want to get spouses and other members of our household on board with what we're doing. And so I think it's helpful for them to know, why am I doing this? And for us to articulate, like, wow, I've been intentionally working on simplifying the kitchen. It feels better. I enjoy being in there more. It's easier to keep clean. And around our kids too, like if we make a mistake purchase, to be like, oh, you know, I kind of regret buying that, or I should have put more thought into that, or more research into that, or whatever before I bought it, or wow, that marketing was tricky, right? They led me to believe that this product was gonna do X, Y, and Z, and it didn't. So letting our kids know, like, wow, we have to be really aware of marketing. And I have heard from some too that even just playing these videos in the background, that some of these ideas begin to permeate throughout the members of their household. So it's generally not like one aha moment and then there's breakthrough and then everything is so easy. It's usually a gradual process over time that they begin to come around to it. I wish it weren't that way. I wish it was faster and easier. But you know, I said in a recent video, like it took 5 years before Tom was really ready to significantly downsize all of his possessions, and that he saw the value in it and why it might be helpful and reduce his stress, right? Like, again, we're not getting rid of stuff just to get rid of it. I like what Courtney from Project 333 says, like, this isn't a project in suffering. And I think that's what they often assume when they start to worry that we're gonna get rid of their stuff or make them get rid of things. I look back though, because okay, it took 5 years for him to come around. Well, now we're 3 more years removed from that. It took longer than I wanted, but I'm still glad that we're here now and not still back at the beginning, right? And so I wish it went faster. Like I really do. I wish decluttering went faster, you know? But 5 minutes really does matter. And the other thing that happens over 5 minutes is you get so fed up with your stuff. You get so sick of it. You're like, why am I still down here? Why am I still moving stuff around? Why am I still decluttering? You know, obviously this project wasn't just straight up decluttering, but still it's the type of things that hang over our head. And if it were not for my membership group and them holding me accountable, this would not be done, right? Like this would not have been a priority, but yet now it feels so good because I didn't even realize that it was hanging over my head. And it was just always there and like, oh, Dawn, you know, you don't finish things you start. Like you said you were gonna do that. Oh, there's stuff on the floor now. You know, why is only 2/3 of the basement floor painted and not the other third? Like I did not even realize that this was bothering me and telling me negative things about myself again. Like who needs that, right? We 1000% do not need that. It still blows me away the power of paint. So I didn't, like right over, I'm backwards, there along the wall. I didn't get to quite finish because I realized I hadn't vacuumed it up and there was sand along the wall there. So after this dries, I'll go back and take my paintbrush and do that. And I got a little bit of paint on the wall. I'm gonna go back with some white after it dries and touch that up. But otherwise, our whole basement floor is painted now, which feels really good. And I had realized too, I should move that stuff over before I started painting. It's actually all very light, so it was very easy to do. So, oh, this is so funny. We just have to laugh, Corbin. I was just coming down here and I'm like, we'll finish up that little bit of painting that I had left, and then we'll move the sand table and then everything will be done. Can you see it? Did you see it over here, Corbin? What happened? Here, I'm gonna flip around. It's all wet. The humidifier on the furnace leaks sometimes, especially when the filter needs to be changed. And so there will be no painting going on over here today. Oh man. The good news is the paint is water resistant. So any areas of the floor that have gotten wet have held up well. So that's good. But, and the furnace is running, and I like, even though I turned it down. So Corbin, why don't we move the sand table just over a little bit, and then I guess it'll just have to be what it is for today. All right. Thank you for all of your help, Corbin. You were a huge help. I know I'm always telling everybody like what a good helper you are and how strong you are, but you have a lot of other good qualities too, don't you? Like you're really thoughtful and really caring. Whenever there's little kids around, they like gravitate towards Corbin, and he's really good at playing with them, right? Yeah. So you're good at a lot of things. Awesome. All right. Thank you for your help. I'm gonna visit and there's water. It's so noisy up there. All right. I'm gonna visit with our friends and let them know what our plan is for April. will you help me in the kitchen for the month of April?
Yeah.
Would that be fun too? Help me
Yeah.
declutter and organize it?
Yeah.
All right, you got it. You'll be my helper. All right, thanks, buddy. All right, well, it is kind of fun. Even though I didn't get that little last bit painted, it is kind of fun to look back at where we started and how far this space has come. Looks like a fancy little gym over there, doesn't it? So, all right, so I kind of gave away how good this looks at the beginning, but let's do the before and afters again, because that's like the best part, right? I mean, again, can you believe that I did this in 5 to 10 minute chunks of time? I know many of us have energy limitations, time limitations. We're caring for loved ones. Work is really demanding. All of us have something that limits the amount of time or energy that we have. And so this tactic of 5 and 10 minutes at a time, it makes a huge difference. And again, it just gets us to that point of being so fed up with our stuff that it makes it a lot easier to declutter and to move this stuff out of our house that is not adding any value. None of this stuff that was piled on the floor and sitting around here was adding any value to my life. It was actually the opposite. It was taking away from it. And so this feels so good. And again, I am just continually blown away by the power of paint. I don't know, like, you don't have to have a fancy house or, you know, fancy basement. It is just amazing what a couple coats of paint can do. And so I'll link to, again, to that floor paint down below and anything else that we've mentioned. But still, this has been done for a few weeks now, and still when I walk down here, I just like find myself just like looking at it and like, it looks so good now. It doesn't necessarily like make us work out anymore or anything. I'm pretty good about walking on the treadmill because it's so cold out here still in Minnesota. But I mean, so don't get me wrong, it's not like it's not miracle working paint or anything like that. But it does feel so good, and it feels good to take care of our house and honestly not wish for a new basement or a new house or anything like that. Like, I really feel content and happy with the house that we have. And so that feels really good as well. All right, well, I will link to those other basement videos as well if you want a little more storage space inspiration. But I love you. I hope you have a really good day, and I'll see you again soon.